Welcome to today's episode of Print to Pixel, the podcast where we talk to marketing leaders and technologists about how omnichannel marketing is revolutionizing the way that direct mail and digital marketing are used together. My name is Dennis Kelly. I'm the CEO of Postalytics, the leading direct mail automation platform that makes direct mail marketing as easy as email. Today, we're speaking with go-to-market expert Gabe Petersen of Calix. Gabe is the Global Director of Field Strategy at Calix, where he works directly with Calix customers to help evolve their go-to-market strategy. I couldn't imagine a better guest to have as we are heading into the fall event season. We're super excited to be participating at the Calix ConneXions event here in the very short future. And Gabe is a great person for our audience to hear from as the strategies for go-to-market in the BSP space are evolving very rapidly. So Gabe, welcome to Print to Pixel.
Thank you so much, Dennis. Really excited to be here.
Great. And today I'm also joined by Chas Rubino from the Postalytics team. Chas is a senior account exec who's focused on the BSP space here at Postalytics. Has been at this for several years. And Chas, introduce yourself to the audience.
Sure. Yeah. Hello. Chas Rubino, like Dennis said, senior account executive here with a major focus in the BSP space. Been doing that for not quite 3 years now, but we've seen a ton of growth in that space. I've personally really enjoyed working within that industry and vertical. Excited for what's to come. And this is my first podcast. So excited to be here with you two veterans.
Absolutely. Great to have you, Chas. So Gabe, love to start out by helping the audience understand who you are.
Yeah.
And so, beyond your title, help us understand a little bit about what has happened in your career. What are the key influences that have led you to this point, to where you are today as Global Director of Field Strategy?
Yeah. Thanks for the question, Dennis. And yeah, just to give a little background. So I've been in this industry actually about 25 years, which always seems a little nuts. I've been with Calix just over 20, which also feels a little insane to say. But I feel like I've had a bit of a weird career trajectory from where I started to where I am now. I started actually with a CLEC when I was in college. It was an internship, and I worked there for a few years while I was going to college, and then for a couple of years after college as well. And that was a really great learning experience for me. I actually started my career in accounting and finance. And one of the things that happened while I was at that company is we got sold a couple of times. We ended up going through Chapter 11 bankruptcy, which was a very interesting experience to say the least. But it was a great learning experience for me because I was very new in my career. There were a lot of changes that were happening inside the company at that time, and lots of people departed. And so I had an opportunity to frankly do a lot of things that I wouldn't have gotten to do in sort of a quote unquote normal scenario in a normal company. But because we were in the middle of a bankruptcy proceeding, they were like, give the new kid the stuff. It's fine. Even if he screws it up, we're already bankrupt. It's no big deal. So it was amazing because I got, again, just such a great opportunity to learn and grow kind of early in my career. And then moved over to Calix and again was in that accounting and finance world for quite a while, about a little over a decade. And then about 8 years ago, moved over into more of a customer facing role. And I think the thing that's frankly kept me with Calix for a long time, Chas and I were just talking about this a moment ago too, it's never boring. I've always had the opportunity to learn, and even with being at the same company for a long time, the company has changed so much. I've been able to change my role so many times. And now I've made my way from accounting all the way to sales, which again is a bit of a weird trajectory, but it's given me a great opportunity just to continue to push myself and learn and grow and do different things, which has been just again, an amazing experience. And getting to grow with Calix too, which has been really cool, right? Kind of growing my career as the company has grown as well. It's been really fun.
Well, that is really cool. I couldn't help but observe that you mentioned the word grow or growth probably 20 times in that discussion. And what's so interesting is, I think this is probably my 60th episode of Print to Pixel. And I don't think I have interviewed anybody who has transitioned from accounting and finance into a sales customer facing role. And so you really have to have that sort of growth mindset, right, to be able to make a transition like that. I think it's really super interesting. And those experiences in finance, I'm sure, have very much informed, your perspective and how you approach your role today.
For sure. And I feel like it gives me a huge advantage because I'm able to have business conversations with people, and I'm very comfortable in those conversations because I can talk gross margins, I can talk, profit, I can talk all of these things that frankly are the language of business, and that many, not to disparage my sales friends, but many sales folks just aren't comfortable in those conversations because they haven't had exposure to it. Whereas I got a lot of exposure early in my career to those conversations, and so it gave me a lot of comfort for that. So I do feel very fortunate that I was able to have that experience, because I do feel like it's been really beneficial in helping me, be much more comfortable in those executive level conversations now today, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, no question. I had the opportunity at a young age to sell accounting software. And it really was transformational for my understanding of how business operates, to be able to work at the nuts and bolts level of how financial information gets accumulated and understood and then communicated out. It was really transformational for me. And so I can understand exactly kind of your perspective, but you had a far deeper view of it than I did.
Well, not to mention, Dennis, selling to accountants is a really tough way to make a living. I'm married to a CPA, and selling to an accountant is a tough way to make a living, for sure.
Yes, it was trial by fire. There's no question about that. So, in your role now, at Calix, after you've gone through this transition, you're now the global director of field strategy. That's such a cool title, and I think it could mean a lot of different things. So why don't you get into a little bit of what your current role is really all about, and your focus? What are you really trying to drive on?
For sure. Yeah, titles are always a little bit weird, right, in describing what it is that we do. But my focus now is really partnering. I think of it as kind of a third is how I spend most of my time. So a third of my job is spent really talking to our customers on a day-to-day basis, helping them with evolving their go-to-market strategies. And when I say that, what we mean oftentimes is just talking about the services that they're selling in a slightly different way. And I know we're going to get into this, or I know we want to get into this a little bit, so I won't step on it too much. But the broadband industry has been selling services one way kind of forever, right? Since we've been selling the internet, it's been very focused on speed, it's very focused on price, and the competitive landscape that we're now operating in makes it really important for us to think about that in a different way. So I spend a lot of my time, evangelizing, for lack of a better word, this desire to move to a different strategy. So that's a good chunk of my time. The other third I spend with our product teams and talking to our customers and partners and product folks about what new solutions should we be bringing to market, what new features should we be bringing into the engagement cloud solution, which is the Calix cloud solution that I work on most, and I have a long history with. That's where Chas and I got to know each other a little bit as well. Through that solution, and then our smart life solutions. So that's our smart home, smart biz, smart MDU solutions that we help our customers drive new revenue streams into their business. So that's a good chunk of my time as well. And then the last bit is just working with our sales teams. I learned pretty early on in my career that I did not want to be a people leader. So I'm thrilled that there are people who want to do that job. And I've had the opportunity to work with some amazing people leaders over the years, but I don't want to do that. I want to be a high level individual contributor. So being able to partner with our sales team and work with them really closely to understand, how could they be having these conversations in a slightly better way, in a slightly different way, kind of bring that try and bring some of that business mindset to those conversations, I would say is another big chunk of how I spend my time these days.
Absolutely, yeah. That's got to be so important at an organization like Calix, where you've got all these different types of products and different.
Yeah, we sell
solutions.
a lot of stuff, and it can be complex.
Yeah. Well, why don't you give a quick overview of Calix, just in case the audience is not familiar with the company? Tell us a little bit more about Calix.
Yeah, for sure. So Calix is very focused on. Calix is a broadband platform company. So we sell hardware, we sell software. We are making this big transition to AI that we're going to be talking about a lot coming up at ConneXions. But ultimately, we're a broadband platform organization that is helping our customers. Drive new revenue streams from their customers. So that could be through things like parental controls in the home or network security services. Also really trying to think about different verticals like small business, who has been woefully kind of underserved in the past. They've been either thrown an enterprise level solution that's way overkill, or a residential solution that doesn't really serve their needs. And so really trying to think about who our constituents or who our customers are serving, and how they can serve those folks better and serve the communities that they're delivering broadband service into.
And you and the team at Calix are working with broadband service providers of all different sizes, right?
Correct. Yeah. We definitely grew up in the rural telco space for sure. That was where our company started, and that was definitely our roots. But now we have customers up and down the subscriber stack, right? Where we're growing into larger customers. It could be like Verizon or Brightspeed, those types of organizations. Allo, another one of our large customers as well. And then working with many rural broadband service providers. Chas, I know you mentioned really enjoying working in this particular space, in this vertical, and I'm so with you. Like this, the rural telco space is it's a great place to work in. It's very encouraging. Most of the time, our customers are not competing with each other. We do have some situations, and obviously, as we continue to grow as an organization, we see more of that. But for the most part, our customers are not competing with each other, and so people genuinely want to help each other out. They want to see. They want to take it to the big guys, so like the really big guys. And so there's this, desire to kind of partner together and make that happen, which I think is really cool.
Yeah,
Chas,
sure.
you must see that in your role here quite a bit as well.
Yeah, for sure. And I think they lean a lot on their vendors like us for that thought leadership. There's not a ton out there in the worlds of community outreach, marketing. I know you guys use the term engagement, which I think is fitting. Because it's all contributing towards growth for the BSP. But the marketers that I work with are they're looking to us, this point solution that sends direct mail, right? And then they're looking to us as thought leaders for all things marketing, because they're all desperate to learn more. And I think a common thread is we'd love to get together with other marketers to combine our tactics, best practices, things like that, to talk about what's working rather than that competitive environment. It's more, what is our neighbor doing that works? And I see that all the time.
100%. I couldn't agree with that more, Chas. It's about that, how do we get together to have those discussions? One of the first roles that I had in kind of a customer facing role moving out of finance and accounting was in our customer success organization. And we stood up circles of success, we called them. And we've grown that that program to be quite large now, where we do it live when we're at events with customers, but we also still run a lot of them virtual as well. And that's exactly what it was about. It was just about bringing people together to share best practices and have those conversations across across these organizations. And we kind of were that connector that allowed them to do that. And I always loved those conversations. Most of the time, I would be the facilitator and just sort of, trying to like nudge the conversation in one way or another, and not jump in and say anything. It's just, ask the question and then learn to kind of shut up to let them have the conversation themselves. It's always the challenge, but it was such a great way to hear the best practices that our customers were doing and have an opportunity for them to share.
Yeah, I think emphasis on technology too, right? They're all looking for recommendations on technology. I think something that interesting that I've noticed is whether this is a small electric co-op or a larger regional BSP, everyone's running a slim team and they have to wear many hats, and it's a fast-paced environment. So they're all looking to help digitize better and more efficiently, and understanding that that's going to be how they scale if they can.
It's such a great point, and I couldn't agree with you more around the people wearing multiple hats. This is something that I was honestly a little surprised by when I started really getting into these conversations with our customers, as how little investment from a people perspective oftentimes there is in the rural telco space.
Mm-hmm.
We see many of the customers we work with have a single person in marketing or half a person in marketing. And, they might have 10, 20,000 subscribers, and they still have a relatively small number of people in their marketing organizations. And if I had my way, I would love to see more investment in those parts of the organization, because I think it's really important. You said another word there, Chas, engage. I think that's really important. That's one of we used to call one of our products Marketing Cloud. We changed it to Engagement Cloud because we really wanted to have our customers think about all of the touch points across the entire customer journey and how they're engaging across that entire journey, not just at the beginning of the relationship. I say this all the time, so you guys may have heard me say this too, but it drives me insane in our industry that we spend so much time and focus at the beginning of the relationship, and then we get a customer and we just pray that we never hear from them again. And we completely forget all about the touch points that can happen across the entire journey there. So, those, when we're having these conversations with customers, I think it's really important for us to continue to go back to, how do you create those meaningful touch points across that entire journey?
Yeah, completely agree. And, just to build on that a little bit, and, speaking of Engagement Cloud and bringing together, we are so thrilled to be announcing our integration between Postalytics and Calix here at the upcoming Calix ConneXions event. It's something that we've collectively worked on for quite a while, and the two of you are really at the origin of this partnership that we're so excited about. So why don't we talk a little bit about that? How did this all transpire? Chas, you were right there in the beginning, weren't you?
Sure. Yeah. So I think it started in Scottsdale, right, Gabe?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We were at the 2024 NTCA Sales and Marketing Expo in Scottsdale. And, I had been putting together my notes so I could have a decent talk track as I was going to approach Calix as someone that we may want to work with. Try to talk to the girl across the room type thing, and getting my act together. And actually, Gabe came over and pretty forward with, hey, we want to make this happen. I don't know exactly what you said.
I don't remember exactly either, but I was pretty forward.
it may have been, hey, I'm Gabe after, Gabe had walked over to the Postalytics table and booth, and introduced himself and Calix, and I guess Gabe, I'll let you talk a little bit to that of what drove that action, activity to come over.
Yeah, I mean, we've been having this conversation with our customers, and direct mail is a really important marketing tactic that they're leveraging, or strategy that they're leveraging as part of their go-to-market. And, yes, it's expensive, but it can be a very effective way for our customers to get their messaging out to their prospects and potentially their customers as well. And so what we really wanted to look to solve was, how do we... Engagement Cloud has a ton of great data about prospects, about subscribers. And it allows us to be really thoughtful about personalizing the campaigns that our customers can put in front of their prospects and customers. But we're not an execution engine. I'm not an ESP. We're not going to build that. There's other great tools that exist. There's HubSpot, there's MailChimp, there's all of these other, wonderful, wonderful things. And your guys' name had come up in a couple of the conversations that we were having with customers as we were talking about direct mail specifically. So yeah, I basically walked up and I was like, hey, I'm Gabe. We want to figure out a way to make this to, you guys keep coming up. Our customers are talking positively about you. I feel like I was thinking about this, Chas. Like, I feel like it was like that scene from Step Brothers where, all of a sudden they realize and they're like, hey, do we just become best friends? And like, I totally felt like it was that with us. It was like, hey, we're just became best friends. And we had a nice chat and we walked away and we actually, we're not the technical people. So we needed to get the technical people together. And we pretty quickly did that coming off of that event. And, yes, it's been a year and a half, but, honestly, like these things sometimes can linger for a long time. And I think, both of our organizations really felt like, hey, this is something that we need to do. This is something that's going to be really beneficial for our customers and for the industry. So let's figure out a way to rapidly make it happen. And now we're, a year and a few months later, and we actually have the solution integrated between Postalytics and Engagement Cloud to help our customers execute those campaigns more rapidly. And I'm thrilled that we have this integration to help our mutual customers for sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the technical integration was a fairly quick process as well. I think it was a good natural process from the start. We walked away from meeting. We were on mutual calls with calls with some of our mutual customers, helping identify some of the best use cases. The synergy was clearly there. The things that Dennis and I talk about all of the time of why Postalytics exists, right? We're disrupting an older marketing channel, traditional marketing channel of direct mail, and identify that it's not targeted enough. It's not personalized. No one's tracking the performance that it was delivered, the analytics, all of those types of things, which are very much aligned with Engagement Cloud, specifically with the data insights that you guys have and being able to leverage those to present a more sort of personalized offer and things like that. So I think, as far as our story goes, yeah, we got together with some mutual customers, understood the use cases better, and then went and had the technical folks do their thing on the back end, which was fairly quick to make it happen. And now we're off and running. So
yeah, off and running with mutual folks who are leveraging the solution, and it's been awesome. And I love what you said there, Chas, about the tracking aspect of it, and that's such an important part of what you guys bring to the table for this too. It's not just the ability to do this in a more elegant way than what might have existed before, but the digital tracking part of it. I think hence the print to pixel, probably, right, Dennis? Of how you guys are thinking about traditional print and what that means from a digital marketing perspective also.
No question. And, just going back to that notion of personalization and how important it is, the idea of personalizing direct mail is not necessarily new, right? It's been around for quite a while. But it's just hard to do. It's really hard, particularly in the traditional direct mail production processes. And so with the notion that folks in this industry are operating on really small, agile teams, right? They have to rely on tech in order to be able to execute at a high level. And executing at a high level now does not mean batch and blast direct mail. It means highly segmented, highly personalized, very, very targeted mail that is serving a purpose as a part of a broader strategy. And so that's why software integrations between systems like ours are so important for these types of customers. They don't have teams of people that can run spreadsheet-based processes at a really high level. And so the tech has to be there for them to really leverage what can be from a marketing standpoint.
Yep. Yeah, it's a great point. And you're absolutely right. They don't have just massive budgets that they can throw at this problem. It's how do we leverage the technology that exists? And you said something there too that I loved, just around the it is part of the overall strategy and thinking about what are all of these touch points. Because the reality is it's not just, I'm not just going to stand up a BSP and I'm going to send out some direct mail postcards and everybody's going to sign up for my service. I've got to think about all of these different, touch points. I've had many frustrating conversations with customers over the years when we started talking about running campaigns, and we'd be like, okay, hey, let's talk about this campaign strategy, and they'd say, well, we sent out the email. And it's like, all right, well, what happened after that? What are the other things that happened after the fact? Like, we really need to think about this entire end-to-end strategy. It can't just be a single touch point. Our customers and prospects don't think about us nearly as much as we're thinking about them. So there needs to be a cohesive strategy in order to actually compel them to act, right? And compel them to change.
Definitely. And speaking of strategy, Chas, you and Gabe are both out in the field speaking with broadband service providers every day. Let's dig in a little bit around some of the themes that you're seeing in the market. Coming at it from two different perspectives, but you're both in it every single day. What are the trends? What are the things that savvy BSPs are focused on? What are they seeing in the market that is bubbling up to the two of you? Help us with a little bit of what's happening right now in the market.
Chas, you want to go first?
Sure. Yeah, I can start. And I didn't know he was going to, but I love that Gabe said it's not about communicating it all up front, which Dennis, as you know, speaking about our customers, that's where we see the majority of our direct mail volume, right? I think there is a heavy emphasis on that. I do think a lot of our customers are trying to catch up and be more efficient with that part compared to their current process. And they kind of want to check off that box and make sure it's happening. I do talk a lot with our customers about how hopefully when you transition to Postalytics, you'll be able to get those promotions or those strategic marketing initiatives out that you weren't able to because you were just trying to get that mail out that was supposed to go out yesterday. But I'm very interested to hear from Gabe about where else he thinks a lot of the communication should come from after those initial times, because again, we see a lot of that. We see a lot of, and I love the idea of front loading your brand. And Ashley Gustafson from Go Net Speed, I'm not going to steal that from her because that was one of the better sessions I've been in, a breakout session of FBA. But she was talking about front loading that brand. If you are introducing yourself to a new community, make sure you're in front of them early on, right? So they know who you are. And as things progress and as you're being able to, you get to the point where you can service them, they're familiar with who you are. They're familiar with the process of what it's going to look like to deliver fiber to their home, if that's the case. And then they're more up to it. But I think, a lot of folks, including myself, are waiting for fiber to come to them, right? So it's, so adoption rates are usually in a good space right at the beginning, but I think there's a lot about how do we get that? I get this question all the time. Like, we really want to get the adoption rate of X to Y. What can we do to make that happen? And then there's after that to your existing customers, to folks that maybe are potentially going to churn. I think there's a lot of different use cases out there. So, Gabe saying that I don't want to hear that it's all in the beginning or however you worded it. I'm excited to hear about the other strategies after that part of the life cycle.
Yeah, you mentioned Go Net Speed and Ashley, and I had the pleasure of working with them for a while as well. And I love what they've done with, they've been really thoughtful about their brands. They kind of have the fun mascot and some of the other things that they've done. One of my things that I always wanted them to do, and I think they might have actually done it. I remember Ashley and I talking about this a number of years ago, is giving away a coloring book for kids at the events that they were doing, or technician walks into the home and sees that there's a bunch of kids running around. It's like, here's the Go Net Speed coloring book. I always thought that would be clever.
I like
anyway.
That.
But going beyond that, around those, around the other touch points, I think the what you said there, Chas, around, hey, I'm at X take rate and I need to get to Y. That is something that we hear all the time, because the reality is that, going back to the financial conversation around all of this, fiber networks are really expensive to build. They're very expensive. And for those folks who are out there building these networks, they need to get to a specific take rate in order for the financial model to actually work. But then the really cool part about that is once you get to that kind of like minimum take rate, every customer that you add on top of that is really profitable because you have this big fixed cost that you've implemented to actually go out and build that network. So going from maybe 35 to 40% is dramatically all of a sudden your financial situation looks dramatically different because again those additional 5% that 5-point take rate is significantly more profitable. So again, I hear that all the time too, Chas. How do we get to that incremental take rate? And what I would say is it's what worked with the first customers is not what's going to work with the other customers. Because for whatever reason, that message that you put out there didn't resonate with them. Yes, maybe they were the early adopters. They were the people who were excited about fiber. I have a fiber overbuilder in my area. And when they came and knocked on my door to sell to me, they had a door-to-door direct sales person. Guy walks up and I'm like, man, this is the easiest sale that you are going to ever have. Like, I am so enthusiastic about fiber. Just give me the iPad. I'm going to fill everything out, right? But I'm a weirdo who works in the industry. And so I was excited about it. Chas, you're the same thing, right? Like, we're excited about this for different reasons. There's going to be those early adopters who are enthusiastic about fiber, but you're going to get to a certain amount of take rate. And then again, that message doesn't resonate. So how do we change the message? What actually do we need to say and to incent these people to change? Maybe they think they're okay with what they have. It's working all right. And so there isn't that incentive to make a shift. We've got to personalize that message. It has to be something that's actually going to resonate with them. I'm helping protect your kids from the terrifying world that is the internet. Or, all of us, I think, work, well, maybe not Dennis. I don't know if you work from home, Dennis. You got that nice Postalytics background, maybe in the office. But Chas and I working remotely, it's really important for us to be able to do stuff like this, to be able to be on Teams calls and Zoom calls or whatever all day, every day. Our livelihood depends on a high level of connectivity. So thinking about that particular group that, is really highly dependent on that connectivity. So just what are those different messages that are going to really resonate with folks to drive them to, again, compel them to make that change?
Absolutely. And then once they do make the change, then actually staying in touch, right?
Yes.
And remaining relevant in the lives of the consumers. And, I thought, touching on brand, I thought was really interesting. And, I think, from what I'm seeing out there in the BSP space, organizations that are investing in brand and are thinking about brand in their marketing are really going to be in a better place to compete. And, I think there's been a lot of greenfield fiber build out going on all over the country. But, it seems like a lot of these BSPs are starting to bump into each other, and we're seeing more and more overlap out there in the field. And to be able to distinguish between multiple offers in the minds of consumer is really hard. And so, because everybody's selling a very similar thing, right? I mean, it's fiber connectivity, and there's all sorts of different ways you can take it and twist it and make it, unique. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it's pretty similar. And so, to be able to create engagement in order to build a brand, it would seem like that is the long-term thing that the industry will need to evolve to as more and more of this build out is coming together and overlapping.
I totally agree with this. And I think you're spot on there, Dennis. The brand is going to be what separates people as we move forward. And it's going to become more difficult as more competitors come into the market. Not to make this all about Calix, but that is one of the things that I think Calix does a really good job of is we enable our customers to put their brand first. So we have an app that, managed Wi-Fi app. We call it Command IQ. But when our customers roll it out, they brand it with their name. It's their colors, it's their logos. And so when they're communicating to these devices that we're all holding in our hot little hands, it says Allo IQ. or one of our customers. It's really leaning into communication coming directly from that customer. So that's a really important bit of this. And you mentioned fiber, and this is something that I co-host a podcast with my colleague Zach, and we talk about this a lot. And whether customers really care about fiber or whether they care about a high level of connectivity. And I personally think that in our industry, we care a lot more about fiber than our customers do. And we end up wanting to talk about that technology a lot. I see, Chas, I'm sure you see this too, but I see so many websites that talk about the technological differences of fiber to a consumer. It's talking about, pulses of light going through things that are the size of a human hair across glass. And it's just like, the customer doesn't care about that. They just want to have a high level of connectivity. You mentioned brand. I had a really interesting experience last week. I was traveling and I was on an airplane, and the airplane Wi-Fi sucks, right? Like, we've just all gotten used to airplane Wi-Fi being terrible. I was on a United flight, and it was the first United flight that I've been on that had Starlink connectivity. And I was curious as to what level the connectivity was going to be. So I ran a speed test, and I got like 450 meg down and 50 meg up on an airplane. And I was pretty blown away by that. And low Earth orbit satellite is not going to be it's obviously not the same technology as fiber, right? It's not as good. However, if the customer perceives that it's just as good, then it's just as good. And if I'm running a speed test and getting 450 meg down and 50 meg up from an airplane, like, that's pretty solid. And the brand halo that Starlink is going to get out of that is really positive for them. So I do think, going back to your point, the traditional broadband service providers, or the fixed wireline providers, need to be really aggressive thinking about brand, because the Starlinks and the Amazons of the world are so strong when it comes to brand. And if they're not thinking about it, they're going to lose people to those folks who don't have that technical understanding of the difference between, a LEO, fiber, cable, whatever, right?
So in addition to being the first guest that I've had who's transitioned from an accounting and finance background into a sales background, you are the first guest that I've had that is run a speed test on an airplane as well. And
I had to do it. I was just so curious, because I logged on and I'm like, man, this is really good. Like, it was shockingly fast. And so I had to test it and see what happened.
I love it.
Very cool. Very cool. Transitioning to ConneXions. Calix ConneXions is a great event that Postalytics is super excited to be a sponsor of this year. Come see us at booth 107. Chas and I will be there along with other members of the team. So we're going to be in Vegas here very soon, meeting up with the Calix team and what appears to be a cross section of the industry that is obviously very much focused around Calix, but is more than that now. And what I find so interesting about this event is that it's being put on by you guys, but I think that Calix has really broadened its perspective on what you're trying to do with this conference. And so would love to hear a little bit about the conference from your perspective and maybe how it's evolved from where you started and kind of how you guys think about it today.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for saying that, because I do feel very much like it has evolved over time and become much more of an industry event, not just a Calix event. So I'm happy it feels that way from the partner side as well. And we really appreciate you all joining us and being at the event. I know Chas was there last year, and it was great to see him there. I think it was your first one last year, right, Chas?
It was, yep.
Yeah. And I think, we talked afterwards and you were like, man, this is great. I can't wait to come back next year and do even more stuff. So that was awesome to hear. But yeah, it's It's definitely evolved from very humble beginnings. When we started that, we used to call it our Calix user group, and it was probably about 50 engineers in the back of our building in Petaluma. And now we take over the win in Las Vegas. So it's definitely been a huge evolution from that perspective to what is much more of an industry event. I think we've done a really good job over the last few years, our partner team, our marketing team, bringing other folks across the industry into that event, not only with, obviously the showcase and being able to go to booth 107 and see the Postalytics folks, but also, pulling our partners into presentations, both on the main stage as well as in breakout sessions, and talking about those best practices that we have seen our customers leverage with the partners that we integrate with. So yeah, there's been a huge focus for sure in definitely trying to make it more of an industry event, not just hey, we're Calix and we're going to tell you about all the new cool stuff. We're going to do that too. We're going to tell you about all the new cool stuff that's coming, but we definitely want to make it an educational event. I always feel this way whenever I go and, give a talk anywhere or anything. It's like, I want people to walk away from the conversation having learned something and having something that they can actually tangibly take back to their day to day. And I genuinely feel like the Calix ConneXions event has turned into that, where people can go back to their day to day work and have tangible things that they've taken away that are going to positively impact the work that they're doing on a day to day basis.
Well, and I think, going back to brand building, I think that that's such a brilliant way of going about it, right?
Sure.
And it, it really helps to place Calix at the kind of the center of the industry. And so super excited to see you and the team here very soon. I think that the event is growing and becoming really much more important and a critical part of the calendar for everybody in the industry. So really thank you guys. Thanks to you and the team at Calix for putting this thing on. And we're really excited to see you here very soon.
Yeah, excited to see you guys as well.
Excellent. Well, Chas and Gabe, it's been great having you on the pod here today. The partnership that we're announcing, super exciting. The conference, super exciting. It's a really important time in the industry as the growth models and the go-to-market strategies are evolving and changing. And so really appreciate your expertise and what you've been able to share with the audience here today.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, Dennis.
All right. Well, Gabe Petersen, Calix, and Chas Rubino, Postalytics, thanks so much. We'll look forward to the next episode of Print to Pixel coming up very soon.